guys, welcome back to the Robbins Nest. I'm Dee Dee.
I'm Pat.
And this is us. This week, I have my notes. We're going to go through this really quick because as you saw on the thumbnail, there's a whole lot to cover in 4 years. So, start with my paw. Back up to December 2012. My grandfather had been in a, not really a nursing home, but assisted care for recovery for a back injury, which happened in June of 2012, right before I moved out there. He was really lazy and didn't want to do any of his exercises or anything. Unfortunately, his savings ran out paying for that facility. He moved in with me December of 2012. And at first, he was a real grump. Kind of what I was used to. But within a month, he was doing great with the kids. I was so happy they were getting to know him as I knew him when I was little. Everything was wonderful. And then he fell out of bed one night. And February 11th, 2013, my grandpa passed away. Just over a month shy of a year from when my grandma passed. That was hard because of everything that was left on my shoulders. They had a living trust, and it came to me with no one down the line. So I had to deal with selling the house. The IRS had a lien on it. I mean, it was just a blah. We made it through with the help of a couple of attorneys. But then in April, when Pat got to come home for good, he brought our eldest daughter with him. She had stayed in Montana because she graduated at 17 and had a full-time job and was willing and able to pay rent. So that's grown up to me. But she got married. And was, Mom said, learn from my mistakes, don't do it, and she did it. She actually got married on my birthday. I don't know if that was to stub her nose at me or what at the time. But I don't think so. I think it was just coincidence. Anyway, she got married in February. And in early April, we found out that her husband was abusing her. So Dad brought her home to the rest of us out in California. And she was pregnant. So we got our very first grandbaby,
Rooney.
Zachariah. He is the baby pictured on the thumbnail. He is now 7 years old. And making me feel old. But he is still my adorable little Rooney because he is now, as of last week, what was he, 3'11"? Or 3'9"?
3'9".
Yeah, he's 3'9" and 45 pounds. Woo! Getting up there. Dusty, no, my pen. So November 13th is his birthday, and we were just over the moon thrilled. We are grandparents. And then she had to get divorced because of, just obvious reasons, because of the abuse, but also because when she was 16, she asked Pat to adopt her. We had to wait till she turned 18 because her birth father said no. Well, she was 18, but she was married. So she turned 19 right before Zach was born. got the divorce, and as soon as it was final, we were at the courthouse.
That's right.
Remember that day, huh?
Yes, oh, like it was yesterday.
Then, so that's the divorce and adoption. And then Dementia is my father. He was a Marine. He was a lifelong Boy Scout. He had several different jobs over the years, all in frontline service. He was anything from a security guard to a policeman, an EMT. He taught EMT training courses. He was a firefighter at one point. Yeah, just anything and everything. He was right there. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he had sleep apnea, pretty severe. He was on a CPAP machine, and he was, for the last, it was 18 years he worked for Nonpareil. He was the head of safety and security, which also meant he was on call 24/7. For some, I don't know why reason, they went through bouts of call out night after night, and then it'd be quiet for 6 months, and then it's night after night. And in one of those bouts, Dad decided that it didn't make sense to wear the CPAP just to have to take it off 2 hours later, and didn't bother to put it back on because he'd only get another couple hours of sleep. So he ended up with brain damage from oxygen deprivation, which kick-started vascular dementia. Vascular dementia is the fastest acting, most violent form of dementia out there. We didn't know that at the time. My stepmom had a heart condition and suffered from depression. I was having to call, they lived in Blackfoot, Idaho. I was having to call Idaho 15, 20 times in a row in the morning, at noon, and in the evening to make sure that I could get her awake enough to give them both their meds. After about 3 months, we decided they just needed to come live with us.
Yeah, she had to wake up and literally start dialing and calling for an hour or more. And when she got her on the phone, she'd have to talk to her for an hour just to keep her awake enough to get the pills into her.
And all this while working full-time from home with our family.
Yes.
Big family. So October of 2013, they moved in with us. And it was so that we could help her care for him, and I could spend a little bit of time with my dad before he passed. I didn't actually find my dad until I was in my early 20s. He and my mom split up when I was 10 months old. So that was really cool. I did get to know him a little bit. Didn't talk nearly as often or spend anywhere near as much time together as we should have, especially after I moved to Montana. I was so close. But yeah, that time was special and horrifying and just crazy. It's the only way I can describe it.
It was an experience.
Yes. And one I don't wish upon anyone.
No.
It was really horrible.
And for those out there that do deal with people that have dementia and Alzheimer's, we truly understand what you go through and the stresses of it all. So you have our support.
And yes, absolutely. During the time that my dad and stepmom lived with us, I had a break between assignments. I worked for a company that was contracted by clinics, hospitals around the country to do their medical coding. So I worked for a children's hospital in New York. I worked for a children's psychological
Psychiatric.
psychiatric hospital. Thank you. In New England, I did coding for what was it called? The Children's Hospital in Minnesota. United Hospital in St. Paul, Minnesota, or Minneapolis. That was cool because we actually got to go to Minnesota while I was working for them, and I got to work in the hospital for a day while I was there and meet everybody that I'd been dealing with virtually, you know, through phone calls and emails. And that was way cool. But I had breaks sometimes between assignments because of that. And I was on a 6-week break, and doctors had been telling me for years and years that I needed to have my carpal tunnel surgery. I really needed to get that done. So I figured, all right, now's a good time as any. So February 2014, I went in and had carpal tunnel surgery on my right wrist. If I could step back in time, I never would have done it. The surgery is successful for 99% of the people that get it done. I'm the 1%. I was crippled by the surgery. I had to give up my certification. I had to quit my job. I was actually in the middle of training for ICD-10 switch, which if you don't know coding, you don't know what that is. But it was a major change in the way that things are coded in our country. I had to throw away a $500 training course because I couldn't do it anymore. I can't type. I, for the longest time, couldn't even hold a pen. With long years of exercises and trying different things, I can now hold a pen and I can write a little bit, a couple of sentences. And
Legibly.
Yes. A couple of sentences is all I can manage. My signature, which doesn't look anything like my signature did. It's like when you use one of those pen machines at the store. But that on top of Dad, I sank pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time my father passed in April of 2015, I had lost over 60 pounds. A lot of that just the first couple of months after the surgery. I don't even know where I was then. I was so far down in my depression that even he couldn't reach me. I don't honestly remember a whole lot of that year. I was still going to school online, but it got to the point where I couldn't do it. I had finished my second associate's degree, and first one was business administration with an accounting specialty when I was a kid, you know, early 20s. I'd only ever used it as a night auditor. I never really got to get into the field. Dusty has a hold of my hand under the table. Her claws are dug in. Please get her off. Sorry, guys. Okay, ow.
Right.
Yes, Mom's okay. Completely lost my place. I know I was talking about how lost I was.
You were lost in life.
Yes, I was.
I couldn't get to you. I couldn't even bring you up.
Oh, school. Excuse me. So I had completed my second associate's degree, and that was in medical office management. but I couldn't do anything with it. So he's the only reason the degree didn't end up in the garbage. He was proud of me.
I'm very proud of you.
I wasn't too sure.
How can you not be proud of somebody who saved one's life? I mean, it would just be improper to not be proud.
I love you so much.
I love you so much.
Yeah. I had a second surgery in, it was 2016 on my left arm. Because when I went in for the surgery on my right wrist, they knew that I needed both carpal tunnel and ulnar surgeries on both arms. Started with the right wrist. I went to a different surgeon for the second surgery. I was told by several different sources that he was the best hand doctor in Reading. And I'm sure he is. I know he is. At least he was then. He did my left elbow and wrist at the same time, but he did warn me that if, as he suspected, I had a rare condition called complex regional pain syndrome, then I would have the same result, if not worse, on my left. And the only way to know was to do it.
And she went ahead and did it.
And I have CRPS. That was another blow, a big one, because whereas before I could compensate with my left for most of the things that I couldn't do anymore with my right, now I couldn't do anything. So that took me into a really dark place. And I completely lost myself. I am bipolar with bipolar depression. I have both chronic and situational depression as well. I was, Durations? Oh, my cycles?
Yeah, how long?
Oh, gosh. Do you remember? Back then it was like weeks of depression followed by a week, sometimes two, of manic, and then right back down into the depths again. It was very hard on the kids and him, I think. Well, I know it was hard on the kids because I had to learn that I can still be me even though I can't do the things I used to do. That was really, really hard for me to learn. I had been very, very independent my whole life, pretty much. I mean, I know my grandparents spoiled me rotten when I was a kid, but yeah, from the time I had my first child, I was working. I was going to school. I never stopped. I always was the rock. I was the one that took care of everybody. I was the one that made the money. I provided for everybody else, and that's how I felt good. Having that taken away from me, I really was lost. And then losing my dad prior to that, and then losing my stepmother right after that. She passed away New Year's Eve, 2015. Or 2016, yeah. And then having the second surgery and having that blow. We let a lot of things get away from us. A lot of my manic episodes revolved around spending money we didn't have. I went and blew over $1,000 on a Facebook game in 1 month. And it was the same month that he spent over $600 at Dutch Bros. They came out with...
I had something physical out of it.
Tangible.
Yes.
But it didn't last long, did it?
No, it did not.
No. We got a really, really rude awakening wake-up call when we realized that we couldn't keep the house that Pa had bought for us. We had sunk ourselves so far into debt, there was no coming out of it unscathed. There was nothing we could do but do a quick sale on the house for the same amount that my grandpa had paid for the house.
No.
No, it was actually $5,000 less. He came back with another... the buyer came back with a thingy through the realtor and lowered the price by another $5,000. So we ended up with, what was it, $20,000 out of the sale of that house, which was just enough for us to have our fresh start. Number 2. Moving to Reading was supposed to be a fresh start. We blew it.
Going back to Montana, this is our second president.
No, this is our third.
Our third time's a charm.
Yeah, that's right. Our second fresh start was buying the trailer.
Yes, it was.
We found a single-wide 3-bedroom trailer in a quiet little trailer park in between Anderson and Happy Valley, about 13 miles outside of Reading.
And it really was the coolest little spot.
It really was. I think there were, 20 spots in the park, and only 12 of them were occupied. We called a double lot because the lot beside us was empty. We didn't have a neighbor on that side. We had just this big stretch of grass and then the bougainvillea bushes that blocked the highway. We made some good friends there.
Yes, we did.
Very good friends. If you're watching, hi Nolan, hi Darcy, hi Kendra.
Hey Darcy, how you doing?
That trailer was our moving on, fresh start. And it's exactly where we needed to go. Exactly where we needed to be. And yeah, we're saving that for next time. Hope you guys tune back in. Have a great week.
Good night.
Bye.